lovely to join you here. So good morning, Borodar from Wales. I'm sorry I can't be with you in person, but it's a great honour and privilege to have the opportunity to open today's conference. When I think about healthy ageing, I think about the phrase that many of us know now, which is it's about adding life to years, not just years to life. How can we use this extraordinary gift of longer lives to our best ability? But we know also that as individuals and as a society, this can also be very challenging for us, as well as providing massive opportunities. And all parts of society have a role to play, not just to help more of us experience a healthy later life, but to tackle the deep-rooted inequalities that blight old age for so many. Here in Wales, for example, we know that the differences in healthy life expectancy between the most deprived and least deprived areas is as much as 20 years. And that's true for many parts of the UK. So in order to make progress, we have to work together. That's about governments, of course, but it's about businesses and social enterprises. It's about voluntary and community groups. It's about public health and our public bodies. And crucially, it's about working directly with older people. As George said, I'm chair of the Healthy Ageing Advisory Group, and it's a great honour to play that role. The advisory group is a committed and passionate group of people of different experience and expertise who bring that challenge and support to the work of George and his team, to advise and to challenge and to reflect also the realities on the ground, the experiences that people have, whether that's about trying to live well or provide services, carry out research or innovate. And of course, part of what we've done over the last 2 to 3 years is also talk about the impact of the pandemic and more recently the cost of living crisis and the very real pressures that is placing on all of our experience of seeking to grow old healthily. One of the important things that the Healthy Ageing Challenge does, of course, is take a long-term view. And if I reflect on over 30 years of working with older people and seeking to make progress in policy on ageing, quite often what's held us back is a short-term view. And that's why it's so important that the work of the Healthy Ageing Challenge, the investments that are being made, the collaboration between business and research and evidence and civil society is of course responding to the challenges of today, but importantly, looking ahead and offering hope for tomorrow. And when we think about health, it is not just our physical health. As one older person put it to me, we are more than just a collection of symptoms. So having a healthy life is about our physical health, but it's also about our mental health. It's about how we feel. Are we valued? Are we included? Or are we marginalised and brushed aside as we get older? Are we impacted by the consequences of ageism? So I'm pleased that in today's programme, some of those fundamental issues are being looked at as well. And I believe being able to have a healthy later life is also about our rights as we age. In my role as the Independent Older People's Commissioner for Wales, I have the remit to protect and promote older people's rights, and I have a number of legal powers to enable me to do this. And I believe that understanding and upholding the rights of older people is an essential underpinning of healthy ageing. And frankly, we have a long way to go still across the UK for this to be a reality. It's one of the reasons why I'm really pleased to see that there are now campaigns running to have an Older People's Commissioner in England and in Scotland, as well as here in Wales and in Northern Ireland, because I believe that together a group of 4 commissioners across the UK could do much to really improve understanding of the rights that we have as we age, and to do much to challenge the discrimination that can take place. I'm sure as we meet here today, we are probably feeling that, well, in some ways, this feels like a perilous time for us all. The economic challenges, extreme pressures on services, many older people not being able to have the basic essentials of healthcare and social care that they need, and facing a hard winter, not just about choosing whether to be able to heat or eat, but being worried about not being able to do either. So that's why actually I think today's conference is so important, because it is about recognising the challenges right now, but celebrating the way in which we can work together for a better future for all of us. So I want to pay tribute to all you are doing, all the work that is underway under the framework of the challenge, but everything that you will discuss and debate today. It is a source of hope, and I'm sure it's going to be a source of inspiration to many as well. So may I offer my best wishes for a successful and impactful conference, and thank you very much for all you are doing to make all of our lives much better and healthier as we age. So in Welsh, diolch yn fawr, thank you very much, and have a fantastic day.
Helena, thank you very much, and particularly warm thank you for everything that you've done over the last sort of nearly 4 years to help steer and guide the challenge. And part of actually the work that Helena and the advisory group have done has enabled us to do things like introduce opportunities for social ventures, which is a new departure for where we're going. Helena, thank you very much for the day. So, as Helena sort of said, the Healthy Ageing Challenge was part of a government ambition to add life to years, to add 5 extra healthy years to the life that we live. And importantly, it was while narrowing the gap between areas of the UK where life expectancy was highest and lowest. Now, one of the things that I think we as a team are actually very proud of in the challenge is what we call the social gradient of our investments, where over 3/4 of the funding has gone towards projects that have a broad inclusiveness, including lower income groups. And actually, 1/4 of our total funding is specifically targeted on innovations for the lowest income groups. That's our take on levelling up. And I put that success down in large part to the way that we incorporate older people in our decision making and emphasise the engagement of people with lived experience as part of an inclusive design process in the projects that we fund. But actually we think this is a practical commitment that applies much more widely. And in reality, it is a reflection of how well the principles of inclusive design are embedded in the way that you all innovate. And now there are many groups of older people up and down the country who give their wisdom and their time to make a world the better place to grow up and to grow old. And so it's my pleasure to welcome back to our stage Elaine Onegbu. Elaine is chair of the, and I'll get this right, the Age Friendly Manchester Older People's Board. And back in 2019, Elaine actually helped us launch the challenge. Now, a little fun fact about Elaine is that she'd always wanted to ride a horse. And she got the opportunity when she was 67 on a trip to Cuba. And she really demonstrates that actually age is no indication of stage, and it's never too late. So, Elaine, a warm welcome back.
Good morning, everyone. As has been said, my name is Elaine Onegbu. And it is indeed a pleasure and a privilege to be here this morning. And thank you for inviting me. to share with you some brief thoughts of how best you can support older people age well. As I grow older, I want to continue to live independently in my own neighborhood and have access to the things which will help me thrive, but don't we all? We know that by adopting a healthy lifestyle, making healthier choices, even at 80 or older, will bring tangible benefits. But to do this, we need to understand that the places where we live, we need to be building blocks to support us all to age well. And as we grow older, to know that by the age of 70, for example, we know that up to 80% of our time is really spent in our immediate neighborhood. We need decent parks, we need accessible community resources, age-friendly benches, and truly local transport options. Getting out and about, connecting to others, have things to do, and are the foundations for me and many other older people to live the best life that we can. Having access to services that supports us, these need to be also as local as possible. We have some excellent examples. For example, there are activity classes in local parks. We have strength and balance sessions in community and social eating opportunities locally. I understand that this presents an operational challenge to regional and citywide services, but to also those working across local areas. As those kinds and other style neighborhoods, as those kinds of neighborhoods are not at a meaningful scale of how people live and relate to their local neighborhoods. But if services can remain inaccessible, hard to reach, not in tune with how older people want to live, then they will not be able to be the best place to help when that help is needed. Services can better understand the needs of older people and how to support them to age well by working alongside us. The Greater Manchester Older People's Network is passionately keen to work with others to help design and build accessible services to support a better focus on prevention and integrated care. We have lots of ideas, and our direct experiences gives us a unique understanding of what works and what does not work when supporting people to age well. There are many other fine examples across Greater Manchester. Examples of older people's led groups where older people can come together, receive support, we campaign, we articulate our needs and our hopes and aspirations. I want to say a little about my experience of chairing the Greater Manchester boards, which I think are true for many people who have been involved in this work for many years. It has been positive, but at times the progress seems extremely slow, and lots of patience is needed, even when you even have the mayor on your side. But it is key that the voice of older people continues to amplify, highlighting matters of concerns, influencing policies and planning, and this we hope to initiate change. I'd like to give you a little example of how we made a little difference. After a consultation in Manchester of a major generation project, there were no considerants made to older people or of how new communities might age in place. Our board's intervention led to a rethink, and a new proposal was accepted. And you know, older people can be very persuasive. Promoting the Take a Seat campaign, this was borrowed from New York. It's simple, but it's a very important design in older people, in age-friendly benches to provide resting places, which are useful for older people during their walks and thereby prevent isolation and loneliness. We have introduced a number of schemes in Manchester by lobbying and making case to planners and elected members. Lastly, I am also excited to tell you about the Path Aging in Place Pathfinder, which was launched this year on International Day of Older People. It is a 4-year investment of $4 million to test new ways of supporting older people by linking individual needs to the places in which they live, with older people co-producing these projects. Initially operating in 8 neighborhoods across Greater Manchester, the focus is on residents above 60 years old and aim to support older people to live well for longer with better health and being connected to their local community. It feels to me that the initial neighborhoods in the Pathfinder are ideal places to test on new ways for services to work alongside local older people to create a more responsive offer. An offer that starts with prevention, an offer that is easy to access, an offer that builds trust. And I look forward to aging well with everyone. It is a massive task, but you know, we don't have to build battleships. Let us start with a lot of small speedboats, and I'm sure we'll achieve this. Thank you.
Elaine, thank you. And I took a couple of things from that. Absolutely thinking local, about helping people get out and about and really be part of the society we're in, and that's a real message on inclusion. So thank you very much for what you're saying. And I'm going to just sort of say a few sort of words about the Healthy Aging Challenge and the world that's, that we sort of live and innovate and research in. And a lot has happened since I started in UKRI back in 2019 when we first launched the challenge, and I thought it was worth reflecting on how the agenda has changed over those 3 years. This year, the community of projects that we're funding has more than doubled, and there are more opportunities in train right now, so we'll see the cohort get even bigger. At the same time, some of our early investments, notably the 5 Trailblazers, are forging ahead and making an impact. And we talked about diversity earlier. I often use the 5 Trailblazers as a really good example of the diversity of our landscape, if you like. So they're each led from a different sector: housing, fitness, financial services, digital and energy. So really interesting to see that mix of things. And actually there's even more if you go out into the wider projects. So our first cohort of social ventures are on their innovation journey to scaling up, and I know we've got a few of them in the room today. And that social purpose perspective on what we do is also now reflected in and strengthened by bringing in some impact investors. So we've brought in the last sort of year and a half, Nesta, Prostate Cancer Research and the Social Tech Trust, all with a sort of stronger social purpose and giving you new opportunities to follow on from the sort of grant funding that we're giving. The success of our Catalyst Awards for researchers with innovative ideas, now entering its 4th year as an addition that we've just put in, is also reflected by a commitment from the Economic and Social Research Council to take forward that work more broadly to support innovation from the arts, humanities and social sciences. That's a really big breakthrough, and a big thanks, I know they're in the room, big thanks to Zinc who run that work for us. And the research projects, again, lots of posters in the room, and you'll see making good progress. And we've welcomed to that cohort some fast response projects around ageing and place, and specifically projects around pandemic recovery and action on climate change, and a good indication again of how we're trying to be responsive as the agenda moves on. And actually, wherever I look, I see some amazing work. I'm actually quite humbled by just looking at the posters in the room. And as more of those projects progress, I'd really like to see greater recognition. So I'm going to call out a couple, probably unfairly, but this is a challenge to the rest of you. So many congratulations to Blackwood for getting their Scottish Housing Partnership Award this year. And to On Hand, who seem to have an expanding trophy cabinet of one form or another. But I genuinely mean it. You know, some of the stuff that I see is deserving of awards, so please don't be under-ambitious in terms of promoting yourself in the outside world. And I really hope to be able to announce many more through the course of the next year. So those are the good news. I know, though, it's not all been plain sailing. Back in 2019, who would have predicted the pandemic or a major conventional war in Europe, leaving millions homeless and triggering a cost of living crisis? So with that sort of context of changed times, we were interested to hear from older people about what life feels like for them in 2022, and here are some of their views.
Where to start?
I didn't even make it through lockdown in my job. I quit.
With the fact that I live alone and the isolation, I need to be able to speak to people.
I think I probably did struggle more than I actually let myself admit to.
I mean, I think there's been a kind of major shift really in terms of how people think about their lives and work.
The cost of living, the energy, everything changed, everything.
In future, if it go more higher, very hard to survive.
Egg used to be 99p before, now it's £1.55. But we don't have choice. If we need it, we want to eat healthy, you need to buy it.
There's a lot of doom and gloom around, but we just got our cloth accordingly.
Obviously, financial worries have an impact on your health, so that could be a bit of a challenge.
You know, I've got a disabled sister and a very elderly mother, and using online banking and being paper free is really hard for them.
I try not to even put my phone on because I just realize, you know, if care is not taken, you're going to lose your brain.
Technology make a little bit difficult for us. Too much technology.
All my customers I used to communicate with, and they trusted me, and that perhaps has gone away a little bit now. It's all done on the computer or whatever.
We have a work environment which basically churns people through and expects you to exit a certain period.
Ageism is something that lies below the surface level. People maybe aren't even aware that some of the comments they make about you as an older adult are actually ageist.
I was asked really to retire.
About 4 or 5 years ago I had a very mild stroke, and I was advised then by the consultant if I was generally walking a mile, walk 2.
But my dad is poor, and I think that might apply to quite a lot of older adults.
Spain, Italy, Greece, they all seem to be very intergenerational, and when you're out at night, you know, there's everyone from the baby in the pram right through the great granny, and they're all out dining together and socialising together.
Just eat healthy, drink plenty water, minimize your alcohol, exercise, talk to people, go out, have fresh air, and get your sanity.
So it's a great reminder of actually what's happening out there in the world today, and the value of the work that you're all doing. And in that sort of context, I sort of take great heart by the way the wider community interested in ageing has really grown over the last sort of 3 years. And I'll start with some of the issues that came up in there. ILC, who are here today, are doing a project with us on retail and really thinking about what is the role of town centres in a very changed world. We've also seen the National Innovation Centre for Ageing and the Design Age Institute taking their place alongside a growing cohort of academic institutions with excellent research and innovation in ageing. On that sort of context, the work of the British Society of Gerontology's Ageing Business and Society Special Interest Group, which was launched in Longevity Week a year ago, is supporting a growing interest in linking research from the arts and humanities to support businesses and understand them. So making that connection, I think, is a real movement, a real change in the landscape. And then the formation of Business for Health, a coalition of businesses working with the Confederation of British Industry to embed healthy thinking in the way they treat their workforce, healthy thinking in the products that they produce, and healthy thinking in the role that they play in the communities in which they are based. It's a long journey, but they've started, and that's a really exciting time. Overseas, actually, the bold ambition of what was the Ageing Society Grand Challenge actually, I think, has given a lot of inspiration to others. And when I travel overseas or talk to people overseas, that ambition actually makes people sit up and say that the UK is doing something different and interesting. And I think most recently we've seen the Commonwealth-wide Common Age Healthy Ageing Task Force formed, and they're starting their first healthy ageing initiative in Mauritius. So beginning to sort of, expand that message as well. And our understanding of healthy ageing has also advanced. And I think when we set out adding 5 years of healthy living to the lives that we live, was the right thing to do and a really bold ambition. But no one really knew how to do it or whether it was even feasible. And the work of the all-party parliamentary group on longevity actually drew in a lot of experts to say not only is it feasible, actually it can be done, but actually to do it there are some really challenging things that you actually have to tackle. So it's not easy, but it's worth doing. And then Andrew Scott, that many of you will know as author of The 100-Year Life, a professor of economics at the London Business School, has put a value on an extra year of healthy life. Now, his original work was in the States. He's actually looked at it again, and he says that actually the economic value of adding 1 extra year is around £5 trillion in present value terms to the UK. Now, realising that value is not easy, but actually it just says it's an economic opportunity as much as a moral imperative, and I think that's a really important dimension to what we're doing. So